Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the OG Sanguinary Guard. Welcome on in, this is Brews and Studs, and yes, we finally have the original gangsta Sanguinary Guard upon us that we can review. So in this one, we are going to be taking a look at the Sanguinary Guard with the Death Mask and the Encarmine Sword. And then the other one that we're going to be taking a look at is the one with the regular helmet and the Encarmine Axe. So let's see what the blessings of Sanguinius has bestowed upon us. Let us not waste any time and get right down to it. So let's start off with the Death Mask, and I'll have to say this is a proper looking Death Mask. It gives one the look of stomach dropping dread when these guys descend on you. There's a golden halo with beautiful metallic blood drops. The shading in the eyes and mouth imparts extra depth and sorrow. And then there is a nice metallic shade where the halo kind of meets the mask right here. So let's now take a look at the right pauldron over here. What I find interesting is that this is kind of like a flat red instead of a metallic red. My preference is metallic red because it just gives more depth. So you then have ball that is screened directly onto the banner, but there's really not that much shading that's happening on this side. Now, as we look at the left pauldron, you have the nice angel wing motif. There is light shading that is present between the feathers, but I think it could have stood to be a little bit more darker to make each feather stand out a little bit more. But this is still a solid representation of the OG Sanguinary Guard. Now, as we move on to the chest area, you have more metallic red blood drops that are here. I'm really loving all the iconography that's present. There is a different looking wing skull from what we've seen in the past, with also a little bit of light shading. Now, the torso area, JoyToy has added a very manly 8-pack instead of a 6-pack that's made of a very soft, flexible plastic. This area is actually not present on most Primaris action figures, and for some odd reason, it looks like this area also possesses the densest shading on the armor. So now we've migrated onto the waist area. There are 2 blood drop amulets on the side that are metallic looking. And then on the back area, there is a pouch with a blood drop that's kind of unique looking, and a metal frag grenade right here with a lot of silver dry brushing. And then on the other side, you have a double pouch with no highlighting with a textured crack grenade. Now that we are in the leg area, there is a decent amount of shading that is present, especially in the knee area here. It almost gives like a burnt metallic kind of look. There is obviously no highlighting on the brighter gold areas though, and there is a great use of winged blood tears to break up the rather plain looking legs that kind of plagues most of the generic Space Marines. Now, let's move on to the glorious wings over here that the OG Blood Angels fans has come to know and love. They are 100% properly iconic and 1000% to love. So they are made of a very solid plastic and has articulation with helps with posability. So they are attached here by a hinge mechanism and can be bent more than 90 degrees. As you can see here, you can bend this up and then you can bend this all the way back. So there's a certain degree of freedom over here. Talking about the painting of the wings themselves, there is light usage of shading between the feathers, but also good usage of this light blue to contrast the black recesses as well as the stark white of the wings. Now let's take a look at the Angelus bolters. What's interesting is that it's got these triple kind of red gold metallic blood drops, and I really like the color combo that makes this area stand out. Otherwise, it uses the standard color palette of the black casing as well as the gunmetal accessories right here. And finally, it rounds out with a gold magazine. Now let's put this body down, a very glorious body. and then take a look at the Encarmine Sword. And the blade actually has this blue energy that is glowing on the edge of it. It's not seen very often on the past power weapons. Speaking of power weapons, you've got the characteristic blue node. The blade is obviously the characteristic dark gunmetal. The handle right here is not shaded for some odd reason. But regardless, I believe that this is a very unique looking sword. And finally, we will round off with the jump pack over here. So there is a good use of metallic shading between the armor plates here. The engines on the backside look like they're off, as they are a dark gunmetal in color. It would have been nice to see some, blue or red glowing engines like the jump pack Primaris that we saw earlier. But obviously they want to be faithful to the mini. So now let's move on to the death maskless Sanguinary Guard. Man, I just love the Mark 8 armor. But anyways, let's take a look at the Mark 8 helmet. So starting off, there's like this weird, odd gray-green laurel with some light gray highlights. I think the color choice up here is a little bit strange. It normally should be like a light green. Regardless, there are metallic green lenses all over the gold, but I think there's like a kind of stingy use of shading between the armor panels right here. So on the right pauldron over here, there's that same flat red that is used in the previous Sanguinary Guard. There's a skull and blood tier. And finally, there is a unique kind of like heraldic shield like decoration with a single winged blood tier that is clearly metallic. The gist of the left pauldron is same of the first figure, except it's got some different iconography here. So with the chest, there's a high golden peak with the armor right here. So instead of the winged blood tier, we have a laurel blood tier. With the torso, there's that same flexible plastic material. However, it has a winged blood gem. Then on the waist, there's also the same blood tier brown pouch with the textured frag grenade. And then on the other side, it's pretty much the same, except that there is a scroll that has a blood tier amulet that's hanging down. Now the legs right here are pretty plain compared to his counterpart. And on the right side over here, there's an interesting piece of Blood Angel's iconography. It kind of looks like a weird oversized ring for this thigh area. So this wing is the same as the other Sanguinary Guard. However, it has more of a weathered, worn-in battle look due to the more liberal use of shading directly on the wings themselves. So it looks like there is some sort of variation between these Sanguinary Guard. So the Angelus bolter has the same construction, except that there is only 2 blood tiers here. Now we're going to take a closer look at the Encarmine Axe. It is a very dark looking axe. It is foreboding, ominous as it descends down upon its enemies. So there's a more heavy usage of gunmetal with some light silver weathering here. The whole axe, to be honest, looks a little bit drab looking, mainly due to the use of these muted colors here. I have to say there is great iconography used throughout, especially with the winged skull on the axe blade, these attachments. All right, now that we have taken a very close look at these OG action figures, let's see if I believe that these are going to be worth it in the end. Oh man, I would have to say that JoyToy really did not disappoint with these action figures. I am thoroughly impressed by them because JoyToy did a fantastic job of capturing the essence and the glory that is of the Sanguinary Guard. So with the one with the death mask and the Encarmine Sword, I'm just impressed by how awesome and electric this sword is. And I think also that the death mask with this particular action figure really looks stoic and grim and death-like. And with regards to the regular helmeted one with the Encarmine Axe, I'll have to say that, the regular helmet looks kind of odd on these action figures, I'll have to say. In fact, most of my miniature Sanguinary Guard are actually fitted with death masks because I think that really captures the ethos and the mystique of just the Sanguinary Guard themselves. But I really do like the Encarmine Axe. There's a lot of iconography with there. I definitely will have to wholeheartedly say, if you are a Blood Angels fan, or even just a fan of Space Marines in general, and love to collect unique figures, these guys are definitely it. These guys, in my opinion, are one of the heart and soul of the Blood Angels range. And speaking of pickup, you can snatch them at JoyToys, where I get all of my action figures. They have extremely quick shipping time. And shout out to JoyToys, to be honest, because when I ordered them to the time in which it arrived on my doorstep was actually 4 days in which they advertised, which is absolutely impressive in my opinion. And when you do check out, do not forget to use the code SNS for 12% off of your purchase. So members of the chapter, thank you so much for tuning in as usual. I am very thankful for you all who leave a comment and like the video. It does help the video and the channel so much. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one.